long before anti-fluoride activists have knocked on somebody's door or circulated a very alarming leaflet or getting up before the city council speaking. And, you know, having those conversations with public officials, with parents' organizations and others, you can ask questions that will help you get some good reconnaissance and understanding of just how much education they need on the issue. There are fact sheets and other materials, speaking opportunities that a lot of you or other stakeholders that you could arrange such speaking opportunities for, opportunities that we need to take advantage of. And this is just an example of some of them. Just about every state has a Healthy Families Coalition. It may not go by that name, but that kind of group. Rural water associations and other state water groups, they meet regularly. There are a variety of different organizations and civic groups that really are stakeholders on this issue, and it's really important for you all, or if you personally can't do it for the reasons that Judy alluded to, the sort of sense that that's being political, identifying other people who can play those roles is very key. One of the things that we get asked a lot for those who know we've done this research is sort of, well, when and how do we respond to attacks? Let's say we get there late, or let's say we aren't expecting it and an anti-fluoride activist shows up. I think this is the rule of thumb to offer, and that is that because we do recognize that there are messages that if they aren't responded to, if they're totally left alone, they can start to get traction. So we don't totally, as much as we want to focus on the one message wheel that really builds this issue around healthy teeth and healthy mouths, we don't want to go to the extreme of saying, well, whatever they say, we're just going to ignore it and keep saying what we say. So I think, you know, thinking about the space or the outlet where that negative message appeared, you want something that's relatively parity with that. You know, responding to a leaflet that showed up at a city council meeting by going out all throughout the community and responding to that attack may actually bring that negative message to more people's attention than would possibly have seen it. So you just have to be somewhat prudent about it. You don't want to blow something out of proportion and give them an opportunity to keep an issue alive. But by the same token, if somebody does write if there's a news article that doesn't accurately describe this issue or what's at stake, if there's a letter to the editor that is an anti-fluoridation letter, responding in kind with a letter to the editor or an op-ed message, those are the kinds of appropriate, sort of on the same level kinds of response. The Campaign for Dental Health is something that has been launched. It is a campaign that has a lot of different partners. I'll mention some of those momentarily. The objectives of this campaign is to, first and foremost, to create a network of fluoridation advocates, to share ideas and insights. One of the first things that our social marketing gurus told us was, you know, the ADA is doing great things. The CDC is doing some good stuff. You know, there are different organizations that have a presence and are saying and doing some some valuable things on the issue of fluoridation. But there was a sense that our side wasn't as networked, that state and local advocates very much felt like they were out there by themselves, that no one really had their back. And we want to change that. The antis may be small in number, but they're very well networked. That's very clear because you see the same precise arguments pop up in New Hampshire that were used in Texas, that were used in California, and so forth. They very much loop each other in, and we need to do more of that. We also, through a website, ilikemyteeth.org, are aiming to improve the quality and accuracy of what information is out there about oral health and fluoridation. And then there's some practical materials that we want to provide state and local advocates, things they can download and in some cases even adjust for their local needs. These would include fact sheets and PowerPoints and other materials. And then one of the things we're very mindful of is there was a poll done a year or two ago of reporters, and they asked them, when you're writing on a topic that you don't know all that much about, when you're writing a story, what's the first thing you do? The overwhelming majority of them said the first thing they did was they Googled that issue because they wanted to find out what was being said about it and who the leading spokespersons were who talked about that issue. I already showed you what a Google search gets you for fluoride, so you can see that's rather disturbing. So we also are very mindful of reporters and bloggers and other media, print or online. We want to make sure we have something for them. This is just a sample, small sample of our campaign partners that are part of the ILikeMyTeeth.org and the Campaign for Dental Health. Voices for America's Children is playing the role of managing that website on a day-to-day basis. The American Academy of Pediatrics is a partner. There are a lot of state organizations also that are partners, some civil rights groups. The California Dental Association is part of this. The ADA is not signed on formally. They are well aware of the site, and we continue to coordinate activities with them, and there is an ADA representative who regularly participates in some of the planning meetings that we do. One of the things I mentioned was the web presence, and so this is really what it's all about. As I said earlier, we want to frame the issue of fluoridation in the larger context of teeth, healthy teeth. This is about teeth, and that's why this website is called ILikeMyTeeth.org, not fluoridation.com or something else. And we're really putting front and forward images of kids. I know there's kind of this may sound a little schizophrenic, but on the one hand, we do, on our talking points, want to mention this benefits, it benefits people of all ages. But at this point, we do have images of kids that we found they do tend to draw more attention. People tend to gravitate toward messages that are adjacent to them longer. And so I think one of our challenges will be to make sure, as time goes on, that we don't just have images of kids on the site, that we do branch out. We also have the ability through this website, if you have a state or local campaign built around oral health and fluoridation is one of your issues you're working on, we want to give state and local advocates, and many of them have already begun to take us up on this, the ability to create locally customized sites without paying a web designer a lot of money, that give them automatic links, that link them up with our national site, and really give them a professional presence. There is a PowerPoint deck that has been developed for advocates, and that deck is something that we've just finished making it customizable. So if you're from a certain state, you want to maybe delete a slide, or you want to change the wording in a slide to a term that's more familiar in your state, that can be done. But this is one of the examples. This site will also link to a different site called fluoridescience.org. Fluoride science is, I'll just put it bluntly, it's for the people out there who would probably politely be called geeks. I'm one of them. And what I mean by that is the ILikeMyTeeth.org site is not meant to be a site that people are really going to wade deep into a study and its methodology. Fluoride science will give people the opportunity to do that. And the person, many of you know who Jay Kumar is. He's the State Oral Health Office Director in New York State. He served on the 2006 National Research Council panel on fluoride that issued that report. Jay is sort of the point person for this effort. And the idea here is to look at what some of the anti-fluoride groups are doing and saying about particular studies or research, and then do an objective appraisal of that study. Point out, for example, if there are tremendous flaws with the study, the sample size is low, etc. But to grade studies so that there's some sort of independent basis, particularly for policymakers or reporters, to get a sense of, okay, who should I believe here? So we do want that layer, that added layer, to be available for people who really want to wade deep into the science and the statistical piece of this. So where's the campaign going? Well, we've got a lot of things on our radar screen that we want to move forward with. I'm happy to say the first one of those can truly be checked off because we have made the ilikemyteeth.org website smartphone friendly. Last year was the first year in the United States in which the sale of smartphones was higher in units than the sale of PCs. So what that tells us is a lot of people increasingly are going to be accessing the web through smartphones. And we knew that we wanted to make sure our site was compatible with that. We also want to do what we can to strengthen the website's performance in online searches. The technical term is search, it's called SEO, and it's search engine optimization. And so again, you remember that slide I showed you earlier, that we don't fare that well when it comes to, appearing in Google searches. We want to change that. We've got a consultant who's giving us advice on how to change that. This is going to be a multi-month effort. It's going to take some time, but we're moving in that direction. We are planning to have focus groups of water operators in the state of Mississippi coming up in the next month. That's information we look forward to sharing in a variety of venues as well as with ASTDD. We are increasingly recognizing that water operators may be the hidden wild card in this. If a water operator in a community has some misguided view of fluoridation, is fearful of it, doesn't have a high comfort level, and they talk to a city council president, there's a decent chance that city council president will not push the issue. And so we recognize they are an audience that has to be on our radar screen. We have public opinion surveys we're going to be conducting in at least 2 new states, and we're planning on holding a convening later this year that we'll host of fluoridation advocates to help share strategies, and again, just to do the networking that I've talked about earlier. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it, as they say. I appreciate the opportunity to talk with all of you, and and if you have any questions, obviously, I think my email address appears on the screen now, so feel free to follow up with me. And without further ado, I'm going to let Judy, I think, pick up from here and